Hey guys, Backend Handyman here. I was going to make a video about replacing the airbags on the rear suspension on my wife's Dodge Ram 1500. And after I replaced them, I found that it was a little bit harder than I thought to put nitrogen in the airbags, because when I first started, I didn't know that it needed that. Because of these bump stops, it's still messed up. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay. Now, like it says, selected ride height not permitted when I push the button. Well, we'll push it, and it says it's going to. Entry, exit, watch. And it'll just sit here and keep flashing. It'll never actually go all the way down. Now, whenever I replaced the airbag, I was like, oh, well, it's all fucked up. Well, the problem is, these bump stops are too big. See, it's sitting on the bump stops. Look how much width is in there. So you got to make sure you get the right bump stops. And the problem is, only the dealership is the only place I can find bump stops. I'll never actually go down. The bump stops are the easiest thing to change. The airbags are easy to change too. They just lock in there with a couple clips, and then there's a fitting on top of them. And it'll go up slowly but surely. See, now it's stuck on stupid.
A cute, a fairy.
It's already in it.
Oh, it went all the way up and it just didn't say so?
Yeah.
See, and when you drive it and it has the bump stops in it, it makes it real bouncy because it can't go all the way down. And then it tells you immediate suspension, air service, whatever. It tells you that that's needed. Well, the problem is it's not going down to the second ride height. It can't, because the bump stops are too big. And those are the only bump stops, link in the description, that I could find for this damn thing. It's the spring shocks that these are used for, the heavy duty ones. So you can't use these big ones with the air ride, unfortunately. Alright guys, as you see, it's lifted way up. I think I got it to where I can get them out now. You can definitely get them out now. They're about to fall the fuck out. These are those big beefy motherfuckers. Take those out. See, that's all the way up. But now, let's take it all the way down. Now it'll magically work, just like it's supposed to. Off-road one. You can feel it go down. It's nice to have, but man, whenever the airbag goes out, you know, the dealer charges you $800 for the damn airbag. The parts store charges you $300. Amazon charges you $100. So what are you gonna do? All you really need is that much, and that top part goes up into the cap. But with the air suspension, you cannot use these heavy duty ones, because it'll make it to where these airbags, when they come down to the normal ride height, it's actually resting on these bumpers. And if you hit a big bump or anything, what it does is it makes it go jump real high, and sometimes the seats will come off of these seat positions, and then you just ruined your air shock. So do not use these big heavy duty ones on the air ride factory suspension that I think's in 2013, 2017. This is 2014. But don't use these. Imagine that I could make these work by just simply taking a saw and cutting it right here and cutting off that like 2 inches. So, I mean, you could cut that off with a saw and make those ones from Amazon work. I'm not going to guarantee that. But I already got a return started because they didn't say that I couldn't use it on this kind of truck. So I'm not going to cut them in half. And I called the dealer, and the dealer has the original ones for 80 bucks for the pair. See, and this is the original. Look how tore up and bashed up it is. It's because that airbag wasn't inflating. Well, see this one here? It would ride up that high. So that would work if you cut that off. You have to go to the dealer. You can't go to Amazon to get the originals. But you can make the ones on Amazon work. You know, you can't find these damn bump stops anywhere. I had to go to the dealership to get these bump stops, and they're like $74. Now the other pair was about $130. So these are a lot cheaper. The other pair I could have cut off a good chunk of it. At first I thought I was low on nitrogen, but it wasn't low on nitrogen. And I took it to the dealership for them to fill it up on nitrogen. That costs like $140 because it's $140 an hour. I have a refrigerant gauge for air conditioning, and I filled the nitrogen myself. But since the bump stops wouldn't let it go all the way down, it felt like it was missing nitrogen. So therefore, I ended up spending a bunch of money I didn't need to. You know, if you don't have the right size bump stop in there, it's not gonna feel like you have enough nitrogen in there. It's gonna feel real bouncy, as if the shocks were broke. Which I can show you what happens if you run with too big of bump stops. See, these are the shocks. This one's still good. There's nothing wrong with this one. This is, you know, I replaced this one. This is the original one that was broke. You can see it. And then after I replaced it, and I drove around with the wrong size bump stops, this is the new one that I ruined by driving around with the messed up bump stops. And see, it just makes it to where it don't deflate or sit down far enough. But these are about $100 a piece, so you want to make sure that you have the right bump stops. The only reason I changed them, as you can see this one here, it was the only one that was in there. And when I went online to buy the bump stops, the only ones I could find were the heavy duty bigger bump stops for the spring suspension instead of the air ride. And since you don't have a lot to choose from on there, I just bought those, and those were wrong. I had to go to the dealership and get these. And it's crazy that a little piece of foam rubber costs $70. Well, two of them cost like $74. That just blows my mind. Whatever. But anyways, don't use the big beefed up bump stops unless you absolutely have to and can't get one from the dealership. If you absolutely have to use the beefed up bump stops, you're going to have to cut off a rung of it because they're too big. They will not go all the way down, and that will ruin your air shocks when you hit a big bump and they come unseated and it wraps around the axle like this one did. Make sure you use the little bump stops with the air ride. End of story. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Tune in for more. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video and want to follow my process, like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in. Hey man, while you're at it, check out my other YouTube channels. The Stay Home Dad, the Backend Handyman, the Dorsher Family, and the Average Stoner. Just a little bit of what I do from day to day as a stay-home dad.